Right, so some breaking news reaching us right now. Special Prosecutor Amidu has resigned. JoyNews is following this story and we'll be bringing you more in our subsequent bulletins. Indeed, do make a date for JoyNews Prime, which comes up in just about an hour and a half from now. We're going to be telling you all that has happened. Now, Amidu was appointed as a special prosecutor. He was appointed to the office by President Kufuor, and he has been in office for pretty close to about 3 years or more, and he has in recent times expressed some challenges. In fact, he issued a press release in which he indicated he has some frustrations with the people who had been assigned, the investigators who had been seconded to his unit. But we'll be telling you a lot more about this in our subsequent bulletins. All right, back to business life. Exports to the UK market from Ghana are said to be under threat. This is due to some challenges that they have had in the period. Let's take a break here on Business. I will be back with you in a bit. 2011 till January 2012. He's the man who introduced the word gargantuan into the lexicon of Ghanaian politics when he opened the can of worms about the Woyome scandal, which was said to be the worst financial scandal in Ghana's fiscal history at the time. Well, he has resigned. Apparently, he put out a statement, and my colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson is here, and he's going to be telling us all about that. All right, so Kwesi Parker-Wilson, why is Martin Amidu resigning?
Okay, so Israel, I want to read verbatim the letter or the press release he issued just before he sent his resignation letter to the president, which was received today at 3:15. Now, it says that this is to inform the public that I resigned from my position as the special prosecutor of the office of the special prosecutor with immediate effect upon the submission of my letter of resignation, which was received at the office of the president today. I should not ordinarily be announcing my resignation to the public myself, but the traumatic experience I went through from 20th October 2020 to 2nd November 2020, when I conveyed in a 13-page letter the conclusion and observation on the analysis of the risk of corruption and anti-corruption assessment on the report on Ejapa Royalties Limited transactions and other matters related thereto to the president as the chairman of the National Security Council, cautions against not bringing my resignation as the special prosecutor with immediate to the notice of the Ghanaian public and the world. In undertaking the analysis of the risk of prevention of corruption and anti-corruption assessment, I sincerely believe that I was executing an independent mandate under the office of the special prosecutor. The reaction I received for daring to produce the Ejapa Royalties Limited transaction anti-corruption report convinces me beyond any reasonable doubt that I was not intended to exercise any independence as the special prosecutor in the prevention, investigation, prosecution, and recovery of assets of corruption. My position as the special prosecutor has consequently become clearly untenable. It is essential for me to state, for the purpose of the record, any contrary to public perceptions, that my appointment letter was received on February 20, 2 years after my appointment. The copy addresses made no effort to honor any of the conditions of appointment in terms of emolument and benefit of the appointment ever since my warrant of appointment was issued on 23rd of February. So it goes on, and let me just conclude by saying that he says here that the event of 12 November 2020 removed the only protection I had from the threats and plans directed at me for undertaking the Ejapa Royalties Limited transaction anti-corruption assessment report, and dictates that I resign as the special prosecutor immediately. Fear is the enemy of change, and I am prepared from the vacuum created on 12 November 2020 to meet the threat of my demise as the price to pay for serving my country without fear or favor.
All right, thank you very much, Kwesi Pakaweso, bringing us the details of that letter or the statement that has been put out by the Special Prosecutor, Martin Amidu, who says he has resigned. Now, there's one line that I'd want to bring to the viewers. He ends by saying that when the real facts of my tenure become well known to the public in the future, history may judge me kindly. Ghana first. Now, we're joined on the phone line by the presidential correspondent, Elting Brobe. Elting, what more do we know about this resignation of the special prosecutor? Right, we have lost Elting there, but we'll get back to Elting. But this very last line, Kwesi Parker-Wilson, which I read to you, actually indicates that he probably, there's so much more that he would want to. Right. He would want to say. We have Elting back on the line now. Elting, what more can you tell us about the resignation of the special prosecutor?
Well, so Israel, this is just happening, and I'm just hoping that in the hours to follow, we'll get to understand it more, especially from government on this matter, government's position on this matter, and what government response to this letter of resignation would be. That is what all of us are looking forward to hear. In fact, this letter got to us some few minutes ago, and if you check the timelines on the letter provided by Mr. Martin Amidu, the special prosecutor, the letter was sent to the office of the president. It was received at exactly 3:15, and it is 5:35, which means almost 2.5 hours that this letter got to the office of the president. Nothing in terms of communication has come from anybody in government. We are all waiting to hear what government position will be on this resignation. And that is what all of us are here waiting to hear. Here at the Jubilee House, it's very quiet. It is past 5 p.m., so most of the people who work here as public servants are already leaving. The place is very quiet. Activity probably is quite big on the third and on the fourth floor. And that's what all of us are keeping our ears on to see if we can get a response from government or government communicators on what government makes of this resignation letter, which was submitted to the office of the president at the 15. And that's what Israel, all of us are working around to get.
All right. So, but we know for a fact that this letter has reached, the resignation letter has reached the office of the president.
What we do know is reference we can make can only come from Martin Amidu's own letter, which is already in circulation. And it gives timelines as to when this letter was submitted and when it was received. But from government side, nothing whatsoever. It's been a stone wall as far as this matter is concerned. And it's just probably too early. I'm hoping that in the hours to follow, just like it was done in the case of the Japa, Martin Amidu's conclusion on that and government subsequent response to that. We're just hoping to hear a word from government, and I know that it will come in very fast.
All right, thank you very much, presidential correspondent Elting Brobe. But the news just reaching us in the last few minutes, we know that the special prosecutor, Martin Amidu, has resigned, and he's issued a press release to that effect, which we read to you a short while ago, which I'd like us to go over one more time. So he indicates it's dated 16th November, which means it actually happened today. It says, resignation of appointment as special prosecutor with immediate effect, Martin ABK Amidu Esquire. This is to inform the general public that I resigned from my position as a special prosecutor of the office of the special prosecutor with immediate effect upon the submission of my letter of resignation with reference number OSP2/AM/14 dated 16th November 2020, which was received at the office of the president at 15 hours this afternoon, which means that as far as he's concerned, the letter got to the office of the president at 3:15 and it is now 5:39, which means this happened some 2 hours ago. It says, I should not ordinarily be announcing my resignation to the public myself, but the traumatic experience I went through from 20th October 2020 to 2nd November 2020, when I conveyed in a 13-page letter the conclusions and observations on the analysis of the risk of corruption and anti-corruption assessment on the report on the Japa royalties limited, transactions and other matters related thereto to the president. As chairman of the National Security Council, cautions against not bringing my resignation as the special prosecutor with immediate effect, immediate to the notice of the Ghanaian public and the world. We're also joined by Yunusa Fuseni, who's MP, NDC MP for Tamale Central. Thank you very much, Mr. Fuseni. So, well, the special prosecutor has just announced his resignation. What do you make of it? Hello, Mr. Fuseni.
Hello, this is Rai. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Challenges in office. In fact, we predicted that on the very time Amidu was appointed. I remember speaking on your network, I had said that the president was holding the tail of a tiger. If he continues to hold the tail, the tiger will pull him everywhere. If he leaves the tail, the tiger will turn around and consume him. Now, the only option was for Amidu, if frustrated, would resign. It has come to pass. Because Amidu has been consistently frustrated in the performance of his function. And that's why he's resigned. I'm not surprised at all.
Well, you're saying that he's been frustrated, but he talks about the public, he refers to the public backlash as the reason or the main reason for his resignation. So not so much about the frustrations, even though, yes, I'll say, well, there may be some frustration.
Israel, the first budgetary allocation of Amidu, the special prosecutor's office, could not be accessed. You know that? You know, the second budgetary allocation, he was able to access only about 10% of the resources. You know, there has been an ego clash between Amidu and the Attorney General, and the office has been created out of the Attorney General's office. You know that? And so, the frustrations are, I know Amidu to be a proud person who wants to work for this country. Fighting corruption requires commitment and dedication from both sides, on the part of Amidu and the president. You are also aware that Amidu has complained incessantly that the appointees of the president do not facilitate his work. And so clearly, I think that matters have come to a head. We might not know what has precipitated this immediate occurrence, but I know and I have reason to believe that as the time goes by, we will get to know exactly why it has come to this.
Now, if he makes reference to public backlash, and the backlash is not coming just from the MPP, there's some backlash from the NDC as well. I mean, he's had a running with the flag bearer of the
I made
NDC.
reference to what?
He's made reference to the public backlash, and I'm saying the backlash is not coming just from the MPP. The backlash, some of the backlash has also come from the NDC. Indeed, the flag bearer of the NDC, had some, unkind words for him.
Well, I know the backlash has come from far and wide, but you know that I'm the ranking member of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee of Parliament, and every year I have opportunity to assess Amidu's work and to question why budgetary allocations have not been made. Yes, people can talk about Amidu's office on the not knowing exactly what is happening. But I'm speaking from an informed position. I'm not speaking on the basis of a backlash. I'm speaking on the basis of facts that have come to me in the performance of my function as having supervisory jurisdiction over the office of the special prosecutor. So these are two different things.
All right. So you've been aware of all these challenges. That's the frustrations that he's had to come across. What has been done exactly about it?
What do I do? I'm not part of the executive.
I agree.
We have raised the matters on the floor of Parliament.
I agree, but you certainly have some. You can put some pressure.
But that's what I do when we evaluate and assess the performance, the media end-year performance of Martin Amidu. We report to Parliament. And I've spoken on numerous occasions about the conflict between the Attorney General and Martin Amidu. I've spoken about the fact that Martin Amidu could not assess the first year of his money. I've spoken about in the second year of his allocation, how he assessed only about 10%. I've spoken about all this. I've spoken about the delay in bringing the regulations of Martin Amidu's office to Parliament. I've spoken about all these things. I'm speaking from an informed position, not on the basis of any backlash.
What has been the feedback from your colleagues on the other side, on the committee?
Well, I don't speak for my colleagues on the other side. I'm saying that as the ranking member of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, these matters are in Parliament. And if you go and take the Hansard, you will see that Parliament, and especially the Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs of Parliament, has bemoaned the situation where the special prosecutor has not been able to have a full complement of the budgetary allocation released to him for the performance of his functions as special prosecutor. We've said that severally.
All right, but I mean, you have made this point or brought this point up, or this point I'm sure has come up several times at your committee level. What has been the response of your colleagues on the majority side?
Well, the first time that Martin Amidu could not access his budgetary allocation, and we made the point, we were told that Martin Amidu was not on the gift mix. And it was the Attorney General who could access the budgetary allocation of the Special Prosecutor's Office. Martin Amidu thought it was improper because he was set up as an independent office. And so it will be an interference in the functions of the office for the budgetary allocation to be assessed by the Attorney General for onward delivery to Martin Amidu. Martin Amidu thought that he should be made accountable, and the office should be made accountable for the budgetary allocation and not the Attorney General. So it was understood that because he was not on the gift mix, he could not access the money. Now, he was subsequently put on the gift mix, but he was able to only access about 10% of his budgetary allocation. And Martin Amidu, because he's not a minister, cannot lay regulations in Parliament. The regulations took almost forever, almost a year before they came to Parliament. So he could not recruit. In fact, for the first year, Martin Amidu was drawing his salary from the office of the president.
So as far as you're concerned, the office of the special prosecutor was set up to fail. Is that your position?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the frustrations, the lack of commitment and dedication to fighting corruption on the part of this government was made manifest in its dealings with Martin Amidu's office.
All right. Thank you very much, Inusa Fuseni. Inusa Fuseni is MP for Tamale Central and was sharing his thoughts on the resignation of the Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu. And I'd want to go back to the letter that he put out. He says, in undertaking the analysis of the risk of prevention of corruption and anti-corruption assessment, I sincerely believe that I was executing an independent mandate under the Office of the Special Prosecutor, Act 2017, Act 959, and the Office of the Special Prosecutor, Operations Regulations 2018. The reaction I received for daring to produce the Japan Royalties Limited Transactions Anti-Corruption Report convinces me beyond any reasonable doubt that I was not intended to exercise my independence as the Special Prosecutor in the prevention, investigation, prosecution, and recovery of assets of corruption. My position as a special prosecutor has consequently become clearly untenable. Now, we're joined on the phone line by Franklin Cudjoe, who's the president of Imani Africa. Mr. Cudjoe, thank you very much for making time to speak with us. Does this come as a surprise to you? Martin Amidu has resigned. Mr. Cudjoe, if you can hear me, what's your reaction to the resignation of the Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu? Right, we will try and resolve that challenge there and get to speak with Franklin Cudjoe. Hello, Mr. Cudjoe, can you hear me? All right, we still don't have it. Let me go back to the statement put out by the Office of the Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu. It says it is essential for me to state for the reasons, or rather, let me just reiterate the point. The reaction I received for daring to produce the Ijapa Royalties Limited Transactions Anti-Corruption Report convinces me beyond any reasonable doubt that I was not intended to exercise any independence as a special prosecutor in the prevention, investigation, prosecution, and recovery of assets of corruption. My position as a special prosecutor has consequently become clearly untenable. Hopefully we can have Mr. Cudjoe on the line now. Good evening to you, Franklin Cudjoe, Imani Africa President. What do you make of the resignation of Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu?
Hi, Israel. Good evening. Good evening to your viewers as well. This is a rather faint voice that you have, but I know you speak in both terms. I think it's the network. But anyway, I heard your question. What I make of it is rather sad. In the morning I posted on social media that Martin Amidu should have been allowed to choose his own investigators, because that is what happens in other jurisdictions. When he issued a letter suggesting that he had been impaired in his work. With this new alert of sort coming up, this is like pointing directly to the presidency as the one that had been inhibiting him all this while. And it's sobering to read, really. I don't think these are the times that these things should be coming out, because we are getting into an election, and you have the presidency that has had issues with an auditor general who has been asked to go on leave. And now your special prosecutor, your most holiest of holy, holiest of holiest in the corruption fight, is also now saying that, he's handing over he's hanging his boots, basically. I think it's a rather worrying matter, and it doesn't speak well of, an administration that had decided that corruption and its fight had been one of its pivotal, if you like, achievement. I would think that it's a rather sad call, really, a sad one, for anybody commenting on this matter. But it was long coming, really.
Now, I want to read a line from the letter that he put out and get your reaction to that. He says, the reaction I received for daring to produce the Japan Royalties Limited Transactions Anti-Corruption Report convinces me beyond any reasonable doubt that I was not intended to exercise any independence as a special prosecutor in the prevention, investigation, prosecution, and recovery of assets of corruption. My position as a special prosecutor has consequently become clearly untenable. So here he makes reference to the reaction he has received. And what do you make of this line?
If I heard you correctly, there's a line that refers to the Japan deal.
Exactly.
And the way he was treated in that manner.
The reaction to the corruption risk assessment that he put out.
Right. These are all part of the problems of his office. Basically, not getting the political support that he needed. That's essentially what he's asking for. And the way he was treated, he feels leaves much more to be desired. We never heard of it until now that he's written this. I don't know what might have provoked his final reaction. But if certainly the Ejapa conversation and the ones we never had until now is the reason, well, you can't fault Martin Amidu. Don't forget, what he explains in the case of Ejapa seems to have been playing out right from day one when he started this tenure. Don't forget, he complained at some point that there were government actors that were inhibiting him and preventing him from concluding his investigation. It does appear that with this final nail in the coffin, he is suggesting that that interference was directly from the presidency, and he felt left in the cold without any clothes to keep warm. And because of that, he would rather find a little, the little warmth he could salvage rather than to be left in the cold.
Now, Mr. Kujo, why would you think that the president would appoint the special prosecutor and frustrate him at the same time?
Well, don't forget, I don't think it was the intentions of the president to frustrate him. If anybody recalls, when this administration started office, we wrote a paper in February or January, I think, of 2017, where we said fighting corruption and waste begins at the presidency. Because we thought that, look, by having a special prosecutor, that would have been usually after the fact, after the crimes may have been committed. And even when you have a special prosecutor, don't forget, these persons is going after have the political support and maybe elite as well, who have the long, deep pockets, who can fight off the special prosecutor in court. And one case may take probably the tenure of an administration for it to be concluded. So I wouldn't say that the presidency by design had meant to frustrate the special prosecutor. But by the nature of the way our political corruption really is, and not just here, almost everywhere, by the way, you tend to have a situation where the persons usually involved are persons of interest, have deep pockets, and can hire expensive lawyers. If they don't do that, they'll use the political system to frustrate you if they are political. So that's what has just played out. That's why we say that fighting corruption is like charity beginning at home. Rather, cut off all the excesses at the presidency, at the office of government machinery. And then we said the government could have saved $50 million from the outset of its administration. Now the chickens have come home to roost, really. And so I'm not entirely surprised.
Would you say it has to do with the setup, the way the office has been set up or established?
Well, it's not necessarily the setting up of the office, but in the practice of the office itself and the inhibitions it was bound to face. As I recounted a couple of minutes ago, clearly speaking, a special prosecutor is to go after high-level clients in the business of corruption. So what it means is that these high-level clients are deep-rooted politically or have deeper pockets, and they will go every length to frustrate you. So this is just, it has nothing to do with the setup of the office. Of course, the special prosecutor laments that some of his service, his enumeration and service, condition of service were not necessarily respected, but that's besides the point. The major point really is that when you're going after grand corruption, be expected that it will fight you. And I think in the words of the Vice President, Baumia, corruption is like a monster. It's like an evil monster. When you want to fight it, it fights you back. And I think Amidu was just defeated by corruption, sadly.
All right, thank you very much, Franklin Kujo. Franklin Kujo is president of Imani Africa and was sharing his thoughts on the resignation of the special prosecutor, Martin Amidu. So the special prosecutor, Martin Amidu, has resigned. His resignation, or the announcement of his resignation, came out in the last 1 hour, and he has actually put out a press release, parts of which I've been reading to you, but I'd like to go to the very final paragraph of the statement before we wrap up. It says, the events of November 12, 2020 removed the only protection I had from the threats and plans directed at me for undertaking the Ejapa Royalties Limited Transactions Anti-Corruption Assessment Report, and dictates that I resign as a special prosecutor immediately. Fear is the enemy of change, and I am prepared from the vacuum created on November 12, 2020 to meet the threat of my demise as the price to pay for serving my country without fear or favor, affection or ill will. I acted professionally throughout in the discharge of my duties, and my conscience is the anchor of my strength to face any consequences. I am grateful to every Ghanaian for both the support and criticisms during my tenure. When the real facts of my tenure become well known to the public in the future, history may judge me kindly. Ghana first. And that'll be all for now, but we'll be bringing you more on the resignation of the Special Prosecutor on JoyNews Prime, which comes up in an hour. I'm Israel. Thank you very much for watching, and you have a good evening, but do stay tuned into our programs.